Guys, good morning. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is 4 a.m. on the dot here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I wasn't sure if I was going to make a video about this or not. I felt a little guilty. I'll tell you this situation. It was Wednesday, April 29th. I was at a Walmart near here doing some shopping. I had my face mask on as usual. I usually go to the check out yourself registers. Then there's four of them in a square, and there was about five people in line in front of me. It was rather busy that day, but we were spread apart 6 feet. They had the lines on the floor, and when I got closer to checking out, there were two guys. There was one guy and then another guy 6 feet up, and apparently they knew each other. They were probably. I always think I'm younger than most people, but I'm not. They're probably around my age, 50s. They looked like just regular white guys, husbands, and they started talking back and forth, and they had to talk louder through the masks, and they were 6 feet apart. So, uh, how you doing? And I'm trying. You don't want to eavesdrop. That's why wasn't sure about making this video, but I'm going to tell you guys about it anyway. And it was just the routine. How you doing? How's the kids? The wife and kids, and um, they asked each other about the job. Now, here's where it gets interesting. One of the guys glances over at I think it's probably the National Enquirer, because there's the rack of tabloids right there. And they start talking about Donald Trump and what a great job he's doing. And I could hear their voices rise. And as soon as they started talking, they looked around to see who was listening. And I swear to God, it looked like their chests puffed up a little bit. I felt like they were thinking, yeah, we're Trump supporters. Well, you got a problem with that? That's the vibe I got from them, because they seemed to look around, because they were laughing and they were saying, one of them said something about Trump having balls, and we'd be screwed if we didn't have him as president right now. That the country would have been wiped out if it weren't for Donald Trump shutting down the immigration. This is what I heard them say back and forth. Here's where it gets interesting. And then they started talking about Joe Biden, and specifically they started talking about Bernie Sanders. And one of them asked the other one. I'm trying to think of how the timeline of this conversation, and they started talking about voting. Can't wait to vote in November. I hope they're still gonna be. We're gonna have to vote by mail. They were talking about that, and then they said something about I'm sure as hell not voting. Don't want that communist to win. They're referring to Bernie Sanders, and they're serious. They're serious. They're not saying anything about democratic socialism. They're saying they were saying about I'll be damned if there's going to be a communist leading this country. Then there'll be more lines, and they'll lock us down. This is what they said. They said we're going to be locked down all the time, because that's what communism is. It's being it's like Russia. We're going to be locked down all the time if Bernie Sanders wins. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what these two gentlemen were saying back and forth. And then Biden came up, and this pissed me off. This is where I started to get angry. Again, one of them brought up about how he's a child molester, that he's seen the pictures of him molesting a little girl. Now, I've talked about this before. I searched specifically for this picture, and it's complete bullshit. But anyway, okay, so they talked about Bernie. They talked and it came. Okay, then what came to mind is this was just Wednesday, and they're talking as if Bernie Sanders is still in the race, and he's not. I'm dying to tell them. I'm dying to say that. Well, I don't think you're gonna have to. You guys don't even realize that Bernie Sanders dropped out but that would just make them happier. But they're really not on top of things. Again, it confirms my belief, even when I talk to my family members, that they have this very narrow interpretation, and it's all just like they're repeating propaganda. They're all repeating the same propaganda. Oh yeah, and one more thing about abortions. They said something about Nancy Pelosi or the Democrats and abortions. And it's the same stuff I heard from my family members. That same, communism, abortions, and it's the same nonsense. And they believe this. They got this. They swallow this hook, line, and sinker. But that's all. It's just, and by this time, one of them had. That was pretty much the end of it. One of them went up to. There was a space, and one of them went up to the cash register, and I was next in. The guy, and the last guy, and then me were in line. But that was the end of the conversation. But I wanted to share this with you guys. But the reason I talk about it is because how similar, almost exact, their interpretations of what's going on. They were so similar to my family members. And I don't watch Fox News, but I have to assume that they're all getting this from one main media source, of course, Fox News. And how skewed it is. I mean, they're not saying this just to they're saying this like they really believe this stuff, that Bernie Sanders is a communist. They're believing this. They're not exaggerating. They're not kidding around. They're not just busting ass. They believe that Bernie Sanders is a communist. They believe that if he's elected, this country will be locked down all the time, like military rule, because that's what they picture communism as. And at this point, I'm dying to try to tell them that they're so far off base about democratic socialism, and the framework for democracy would not change. It would just be more social, more help socially, more like universal health care. It would benefit the people. And what they believe is some total opposite stuff that they've been fed. It's alarming, man. When I heard my own family members saying these exact same things, and I try to tell her, and she just looks at me like she's mulling it over for a sec, and then she just moves on like, I'm gonna believe what I'm gonna believe. And that's it. So I guess it takes us to the point that like a lot of other people, like Bo of the Fifth Column and other people have said, that these people aren't going to change their minds. They are truly cultists, truly, in the true sense of the word. They'll back this man, for behind anything. But a lot of it has to do with Fox News. It truly is a propaganda machine. Because I hear the same rhetoric, the same propaganda out of the people that watch this station, and it's so far it's so fictional, and so we just have to work around them and talk to the people that are undecided, or the Bernie Sanders supporters, for support to get this nightmare out of the Oval Office. All right, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Have a good Thursday.